is to manipulate possibilities. And to manipulate possibilities is to manipulate power. Yes, Cleveland, you woke up and you got snow again. Did you think you was going to get away with this? That's all right, but we'll take it. But I looked all the way up to the forecast, up into the 20s. You know, in the daytime, we're going to have some decent, mid-30s, upper 40s. Next week, Thursday, I think around 50. So we'll take it. We'll take it. Ease us right on into February. But guess what, guys? Ever since the winter solstice, the days have been getting longer. So by the time February come here, the days will be not much longer. And that means what? We're closer to spring. And guess what, guys? The actual really new year, okay? Springtime. That's the real new year. So, hey, we're moving forward. It's a new year, 2023. We got my man back into the studio. What's up there, Brother Vince? What's going on?
What's going on, Antonio? Yes, again, we're back in the studio. Glad to be live, and we got some great things going on. Amongst them, we have Brother Peter Lawson Jones. He's got a fundraiser coming up, and it's tied to a very worthy cause. So we want to get him on right away. Peter Lawson Jones, are you with us? Okay, we're waiting for him to call. We also have in the studio with us Makia Sax. She is a holistic practitioner, and her specialty is QiGong. She's into a lot of things that have healing benefits, and we're going to talk to her about those things. So as we wait for Peter to join us, I'm just going to briefly introduce you to Makia Sax. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Glad to see you. I see you have on some regalia here. You look like a QiGong master, and it would be an understatement to say that you aren't.
True.
So preliminarily, how long have you been engaged in the practice of QiGong?
I've been doing it since 1991.
91?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I became an instructor in 95.
Okay. 95. All right. So that's quite a bit of time, and you've learned quite a bit, and you're going to share that with us today. We're going to welcome Peter Lawson Jones to 360 Info Network. Brother Peter, how you doing today? Peter Lawson Jones, are you with us?
Hey, Vince,
yeah,
I don't know if you can. Oh, okay. Yeah, you coming in a little low, Vince. I don't know if it's just me or what. So I'm just letting you know.
Well, you know, Mercury is retrograde right now, so it's not uncommon for us to have these things happen. So we're just gonna roll with the punches. We do have Peter Lawson Jones.
Yes, I'm here, Vince. Happy New Year. Hope your 2023 is off to a grand start.
It is. You couldn't tell by what's going on right now, but we'll get things together. Peter, you are in a film called A Man Called Otto, and you're going to do something really big. You got the whole theater to yourself, and you are co-starring with Tom Hanks, but it is a very worthy cause. So bring us up to date what's going on with Peter Lawson Jones, filmmaking and fundraising.
Well, thanks a lot, Vince, and I really appreciate your having me on the show to talk about what I'm hosting, the event I'm hosting this Thursday, January 12th. As you mentioned, I have a major role in a film that stars Tom Hanks. He and I share a number of scenes together. He is an absolutely phenomenal talent and an even better human being. The name of the movie is A Man Called Otto, and on January 12th, this Thursday, I am hosting a red carpet screening of the film. And the proceeds will go into my parents' scholarship fund, the Charles and Margaret Jones Scholarship Fund, which is administered by College Now Greater Cleveland. I established it 25 years ago on my parents' 50th wedding anniversary, and it's helped to send 20 kids to college and award over $40,000 in scholarships. So I have reserved two, and I might have to reserve a third theater because of the tremendous, generous response of my friends and acquaintances at Cinemark Valley View. That's where the event will be held. We're starting off with a VIP reception at 6 o'clock. We then have a short program. Then everybody will see the film. And following that, Russ Mitchell, who's emceeing the program, will interview me for about 30 to 45 minutes about the film, about my career, and hopefully about my parents' scholarship fund. Everyone who attends will receive a commemorative unique print, signed by Gloria K. Ritter, who's just an extraordinarily talented visual artist. And those who are at the VIP reception, of course, will have a little food and something to drink, and we'll get a swag bag. And everybody gets a tax deduction because it's going to a 501c3 organization, College Now Greater Cleveland. So I'm pretty excited about the evening. We have a silent auction. We have a number of generous partners and sponsors. We have about 32 items in the silent auction, great items that people will be interested in and can snatch at a fraction of the cost it would typically require of them. We have a step and repeat. Where you can take photos either next to a poster of Tom Hanks or with the backdrop of the College Now Charles and Margaret Jones Scholarship Fund banner behind you. So it's going to be a pretty good evening. And we've already have 350 people coming, and more people are registering every day. So we might have 400 people. What I thought would only require one auditorium at Cinemark is probably going to require 3.
Well, that must be gratifying to you to know that there's such a demand for this event that you're going to have extra seats. And I'm sure it bodes well for those who could be on the receiving end of a scholarship. Peter, quickly tell us.
There you go.
Yes.
Absolutely, Vince.
Yes.
That's the bottom line here. I saw this as an opportunity to have an event that could boost my parents' scholarship fund and help send more low and moderate income deserving students to college.
Okay, so if folks are interested in taking advantage of this additional time to get in on this, tell them what they can do, how they can get connected, and how they can contribute.
Sure. If you want to purchase tickets, if you want more details about the event, if you want to peruse the list of silent auction items that are available, simply log on to collegenowgc.org/auto/ That's collegenowgc.org/auto, OTTO/.
Okay, do me a real huge favor because we're working without our normal resources. I don't have my laptop with me, but if you could text me that information, I'll be sure to include it on the Facebook post.
Vince, you will have that in 30 seconds.
All right. Well, Peter Lawson Jones, I know you got a funeral to get to, so I don't want to hold you up too much. But I want to thank you for joining us today. I want to thank you for bringing attention to this very worthy cause. I know you were on Flash's show this morning because when I walked in and I said, Peter Lawson Jones, and he said, yeah, he was just on my show. I said, yeah. I figured that.
Yeah, I'm all over 1490 today.
That's right. It's all good, though. Peter Lawson Jones, he is the actor.
Thank you, Vince. Thanks for inviting me to be on.
Right. He's the actor who became an attorney and then came back to his lifelong passion of acting. You can see him on the silver screen on Thursday at the Valley View Cinemark. Looking forward to seeing that performance in the film, and even more importantly, I'm looking forward to seeing the recipients light up when you put that check in their hands.
There you go.
Yes.
That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. It's not the hokey pokey. That's not what it's all about. Helping out young students. Yes. That's the goal here.
All right. All right.
Okay.
Once again, thanks for joining us, and we will be back with more 360.
My pleasure.
All right. We'll be back with more 360 Info Network right after this. Welcome back. 360 Info Network right here on AM 1490 with Vince Robinson and our brother Antonio, who was out in the field today. Back in the studio after an absence of almost 2 years, and I can tell you that it's just great to be back in the house. We got my man Tone on the board running things for us, pulling everything together, and we're fighting against that Mercury retrograde thing, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yes.
Of course, there's always the 3 Ps. So if you utilize the 3 Ps, practice, preparation, and the other one, then you don't have to deal with these things. So I'll shoulder the responsibility for that.
All right.
We have a very important guest with us today. She's actually been on our airways before. And the reason that I brought her into the conversation is because we need to do something called healing. And one of the most powerful things in the world when it comes to healing is our own body.
Yes.
The body has a tremendous ability to recover from whatever happens to us. Sometimes we get into situations that require acute care. You know, somebody might be in an auto accident or something like that, or just have some type of catastrophic event that causes them to require that level of care. But then there are other things that happen to us. You know, we lean on allopathic medicine, and then all it does is basically mask the symptoms. It doesn't get to the cause of something, and we don't equip the body to recover quickly enough by using our own energy and by dealing with things like food that have medicinal qualities that can help us in that recovery. So, on the onset, I asked you about your background, and you told us you went all the way back to 1991. You became certified in 1995.
Yes.
So you've been doing this for a while, and you've been able to successfully help folks with their healing practices. The methodology that you use is connected to a Chinese, I'm just going to call it a science for lack of a better term, but it's connected to that. It's called QiGong. So if you could tell our listeners what QiGong is and how it can be of benefit to them.
Well, Qigong is the foundation of Chinese medicine because everything is energy. Qigong plays its part also in martial arts. You have hard Qigong that's used in martial arts, and which is the yang, and the yin energy is more so used for healing. And Qigong has a 5,000-year history. In China, they used to have a lot of hospitals that were based on Tai Chi, Qigong, food, herbs, acupuncture. And when the new controlling force took over, a lot of that was removed. It might all be removed by now. But the energy, everything is energy. And there are a lot of people today saying that actually our body is more energy and space than anything else. And I've studied a lot of different teachers, Master Hao, Master Ko, Chi Li Lin, a bunch of different people, and most of those are all Asians. And I studied with Guy Savelli, who was a Kung Fu master right here in Cleveland. I did martial arts. And he was a healer, and he used to do healing for Cleveland Clinic. And he didn't charge for it. He said, I can't charge for God's work. But the bottom line is the body is energy and building the life force. There was a healer in Germany in the last century. His name was Bruno Gorning. And he was dynamic. He had like 30,000 people show up. And he was doing a form of healing, very similar to Qigong. Probably Western would say it was sort of like hands-on, but he never really touched anybody. So pranic healing or Qigong, you really don't have to touch anybody to assist them in the healing. But what's most important is for you to learn how to heal yourself, for you to learn how to access the energy which is all around you, which everything is made from. This table, this microphone, that car, that plastic cup is made out of energy. And learning and understanding how to access that energy and build the life force in your body. Now, one thing Bruno Gorning said is that you get sick because you're lacking life force. That if you build your life force, your body will be strong enough to repair itself. And they went after him in Germany, and they kept going after him and wouldn't let him do any healing. There's a lot of videos on YouTube about Bruno Gorning, and I would really suggest that people check it out because there's a lot of information, and I'm still a part of that.
Okay, so could you spell Bruno Gorning so people know how to access it?
Okay, Bruno, Bruno, Gorning is Groening. Bruno Gorning, the healer from Germany.
Okay. All right. I'm very privileged in that I was able to attend a Qigong workshop that our brother Wayne Chandler had back in August in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. And it was just absolutely fascinating to me, the fact that not only is it healing energy that you have, but it's the healing energy that other folks have, and someone else can actually uh, do something to you using energy, using their energy to create healing in your body. So, can you talk to us about how that actually works? How can someone else, and I'm just recalling, on a side note, I'm just recalling a brother by the name of Hilton Tam, who was in Asia Plaza.
Yes.
And I remember going to him a few times, and I was having some type of pain, and he didn't touch me, he just had his hands over me in a certain way. So I'm assuming that what he was doing was actually Qigong.
Yes, he was a Qigong master too.
Okay.
Yes. Well, the first thing that everybody has energy. Some people, if they were, and I believe in reincarnation, into energy healing in the last life, they have more energy in this life. You build your life force, which is basically based on the breath, because the energy, the life force, and the chi is all around you. And you know, like on a nice sunny day, you can actually go out and look at the sky, and you see these little light, sort of like lights sparking, tiny micro light sparking, and that's the chi. That's what Master Howell taught us. And when you breathe this in, as you breathe it in, you learn to store the energy. Now, I have seen where non-Asians would say, don't store the energy. I only follow what the Asians said. This is their system that they were teaching, but I truly think it originated in Africa. That's what I think. But anyway, you breathe in the energy. There are basic techniques, just like Tai Chi is a moving kata type of form of martial arts. And when you're doing Tai Chi, you're moving very slow. And as you're moving very slow, when you get that connection to the field, and this is the unified field that Einstein talked about, which is the life force and the chi all around you, you feel almost like you might be in a pool of water. You can start feeling this. And as you, which is a moving form of Qigong, and Qigong was here 5,000 years before Tai Chi. So Qigong has three forms, which is the moving form, a breathing form, and a sitting form, a still form. And the most powerful part is to build the energy. If you build the energy, you can work on somebody from a distance or up close. And most of the time we were taught that if you are sensing someone and you're running your hand like down their arm and your hand is pulled down, there's a block. If you're running your arm and your hand is pushed up, there's a block, but it's a buildup of chi, which according to Chinese medicine is like a tumor. Okay, so you are taught how to move the energy, and what is most important is to create a smooth flow of energy in the body, to increase the energy and make sure that the energy is flowing smoothly. Now in martial arts, they will take the energy and impact it into you to disable you. And mostly, like here in America, they don't start talking that kind of stuff to your black belt. But I'm not a black belt. I just happen to study with some good people who were willing to share some information. So building the energy, there are techniques in Qigong that as you build the energy, you enhance the flow of Qi in the meridians. And the meridians are connecting to your organs and your glands. And you might as well say they're similar to blood vessels, but they run through your body. And for years, allopathic medicine said, oh, ain't no such thing as chi, there's no such thing as meridian, but they have finally advanced to the point where they can use instruments and find acupuncture points.
And a lot of what you're talking about in terms of moving energy is not just physical, but it's also mental. I mean, when you talk about moving things up your front channel and down your back channel, your mental energy is employed in this process because you're using it to channel that energy in places that you want it to go. Can you talk about the mental aspect of Qigong?
Well, a part of the base of it is visualization. colors make a difference. Blue is cleansing, green is healing, different colors, so you have to be able to visualize. And if I was to sit here and do small heaven, which is what you're talking about, and I would just sit here and go to my perineum, and as I inhale, I enhance it in my own mind by seeing white light coming up the channel to the top of my head and going down the front. I'm not going to get all technical, start calling off the names, all these different things. I do know them, but if you don't understand what they are and all that, it just complicates things. So as I inhale up the back, it comes to the top of my head, which we call the Baihui, and exhale it back down. Okay, so this is a practice called small heaven. And there's a big heaven where you move the energy through your whole body. Okay, and these are the two major things that probably in the 40s and 50s, people were paying $50,000 to $100,000 going to China to try to learn these techniques. And I learned from Master Hao, who is a professor of physics from Beijing University, and he was working at Case Western Reserve as a research scientist. So he gave us the science perspective as well as the spiritual. So visualization, imagination is key. Everything is built on visualization, imagination. Whoever built this microphone, okay, was in their imagination first. They came up with that and they seen it somehow, and then they drew the picture and somebody built it. So these are the foundations of our very existence, of manifestation, of healing.
Okay. So in addition to what you do mentally, by visualizing colors, you also can create certain things happening in your body through the use of sound. So I learned about the healing sounds.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about what the healing sounds are and how they impact your healing.
Okay, there are like different healing sounds for different organs. And say like for the heart is, and there's movements that you do with the healing sounds, okay? And when you're doing this is supposed to help to like stretch the organs to get the flow. And the sounds are a frequency vibration that connects to the heart, and it's vibrating the heart, okay? Because everything is a frequency, everything is sound. So when you're doing this, or even the inner smile, which is connected with the healing sounds, when you're doing these sounds and you're practicing this, you have to trust and have faith that this is working, and you must really keep in your mind that natural things, even when it comes to herbs, are not accelerated healers. You can't do something today and think you're healed this afternoon or tomorrow. Qigong is a lifelong process of enhancing. It slows down the aging process. It improves the function of all organs, the heart, the kidneys, the liver, by increasing the flow of energy. So when you're doing these sounds, you are connecting the vibrational frequency to that organ. And you have to practice it over and over and over again. Just make it a part of your everyday life that you do every day. And over time, it took me about 2 weeks when I first started doing Qigong before I could feel the energy. It took me 2 years to feel small heaven. And by that time, especially with the help of a master, I'm just thinking about retreats that we went to, that Master Hao was doing these retreats. And he was doing something very similar with the healing sounds and visualization, thinking about the colors on the organs. And all of a sudden, something came in my head. That's what it felt like. And started moving through my body and went on back out and came back in again. Okay, so he's in his 80s now, so he was in his 50s. He had started as a kid. Okay, so he was a very powerful healer. And he left Cleveland and moved to California.
Yes. Well, I just want to attest to what you're saying about the impact that moving energy can have on your body. I know we were in Mexico for almost 2 weeks, and at the end of 2 weeks and daily Qigong practice, I noticed a difference in my level of energy.
Oh, yes.
It was amazing. I can't say that I've ever felt like that in my life. And I know that there's a reward that comes from discipline and daily practice. And my brother Wayne, I know that he does it every day. I mean, it's like being a trumpet player, thinking of my friend Reggie Pittman. You know, Reggie, he's going to practice every day no matter what. So if the whole day goes by and it's 1 o'clock in the morning and he hasn't practiced, he's going to put in some time on his instrument. When it comes to Qigong, you do that and you get a benefit from it. Last year, at one point, I attended a virtual workshop that Brother Wayne shared with me, and I noticed some of the facilitators in this webinar, and a couple of them were kind of up in age. But one thing that I've noticed about folks who have a regular Qigong practice, and that is their flexibility, their fluidity, their mobility, you know, all of those things are enhanced. So when I look around in our community and I see our elders, I see folks using canes and walkers and, you know, all bent over and just having a hard time. And that's what we might consider the natural aging process. You know, you start off crawling and you end up crawling, but it doesn't have to be that.
No.
If you have a certain conscientiousness about having the discipline that it takes to live a healthy life and to not witness the deterioration. So you spoke about it earlier in our conversation about how this is actually something that can aid you as you age. And I want to keep bringing this information to the public, Makia, because I see folks suffering unnecessarily because we rely on a medical system that doesn't really create cures for our issues. It doesn't really address our dysfunction with nutrition. It doesn't address our dysfunction by channeling our breath. You know, we do get information here and there, you know, take a moment, pause, breathe, blah, blah, blah. But it's only going to do you so much benefit, and you have to take it to the next level in order to get the maximum benefit that you could get from having control of your breath. You know, we talk about meditation. We have Dr. Brown on all the time, and we talk about the importance of meditation. But this thing that we call Qi, you know, it's like, it's something that you can store.
Yes.
It's also something that you expend by doing things like opening your eyes, like talking. You know, there's this energy that's stored up, and you have to be a responsible custodian of your Qi. Could you talk about what it's like or what it takes to be responsible in terms of how you manage your Qi?
Well, I would say definitely a daily practice, meditation, basic, real techniques. And I just want to throw this out right quick. You know, different cultures take over techniques from ancient cultures, and like hot yoga. The purpose of Qigong, Tai Chi, and yoga is to work on healing the body so that you can go into meditation without pain and suffering and stay for long periods of time in order to go deep. When you're going deep is where the gold is. Going deep is where the true treasure is, in silence, going deep. Now, if you're in a lot of pain, you're not going to sit there too long. Fast yoga, hot yoga, I truly believe they're trying to direct you away from the spiritual nature that is in these practices, just like all the distractions that we have, like TV and everything else. So you have to free yourself from the matrix and decide, I'm going to go within. Even in the Bible, it talks about the stillness and going within. And so, like, doing Tai Chi is creating energy and helping to stretch the meridians, helping the body to function better. And so a Tai Chi practice, a regular Tai Chi practice, okay, not once a week, you know, you make it a part of your life. Then meditation. Now, I have checked out mindfulness. Okay. I'm not impressed with mindfulness. I don't care who says how great it is. Because mindfulness, I'm aware. I'm aware there's a microphone. I'm aware that you're sitting there. That is not going within, and that is not in the stillness. Your power is within. And if you can grip through practice, regular practice, that power, you will be amazed. That's all I could say. I thank Master Howell all the time for coming into life, bringing me this information. The power of stillness and the power that is going within will transform your life.
It's interesting, Makia. I listened to an interview with Lloyd Strayhorn, who was a numerologist, and Phil Valentine, who was into metaphysics and so forth, and they were talking about meditation. And one of the things that really resonated with me was the whole idea of getting to that place of stillness where you have an absence of thought. And it's really difficult to get there because when you're meditating, you got all these. Some people call it monkey chatter.
Yes.
Phil Valentine called it crickets. You know, but what they talked about was when you get into a regular practice of meditation, you get to a point where you can completely shut things down. And the beauty of having that absence of thought is that it enables you to connect with that entity, that thing that we refer to sometimes mistakenly as God.
Yes.
You know, your connection with that entity comes from you having an ability to exist within stillness. And within that stillness, you find a peace that is extremely pervasive. This is us connecting with that in its purest state, and that enables us to exist within our divinity. And I just want to put this out here because we struggle with the idea or the thought that we could actually be divine beings. And this is no disrespect to our Christian listeners, but historically you will find that there was a time in the history of civilization that people realized their divine aspect and they lived within it. And because they lived within it, they had abilities and powers. They had connection to their intuitive faculties. They had, they had a quality of life that enabled them to exist in a way differently than we do. You don't just think about it. 6,000 years, they didn't have cell phones and televisions.
True.
They didn't have all the distractions and the conveniences that we have. So they had to plug into themselves. They were in tune with the cycles of nature. You know, when the sun went down, they went to bed. When the sun woke up, the sun went up, they got up. You know, we have folks who work all night.
That's throwing off your rhythms.
You don't exist within your rhythms, and then there's dysfunction that happens as a result of that. But within these people's understanding of their divinity, they were able to enjoy a certain quality of life that evades us because we don't take the time to plug in. If you want to look at things on a moral perspective, you know, we got the 10 Commandments. Back in the day, they had 42. You know, and they went through all 42 on a daily basis, and they would say to themselves, not have I done this, not have I done that. And what they're doing is they're speaking to their divine existence. When you look at some of the Medu Neter, the hieroglyphics in Kemet, known as Egypt today, you will see people in meditative states. They're sitting there with their hands on their laps, with their eyes closed, and they're actually meditating. And in doing so, they are storing their chi. So I agree with you. We think about China and things coming from China. These are things that our ancestors were aware of and employed in their daily lives. They had an awareness of it. They exercised those things, and they got a benefit from it. So we've talked about the healing sounds. We've talked about, in a roundabout way, we've talked about solar practices. There are also breathing exercises that we do. One of them is alternate breathing. Can you talk about the benefits that come from alternate breathing? And we got our man Antonio out in the field. I don't want to exclude you from the conversation, brother. It's just so it's just so riveting. Before she answered the question, I just wondered if there was anything that you had on your heart or mind, or anything that you wanted to ask.
Yeah. Again, it's very, very interesting, and something that we all trying to understand, and understanding this thing called our body and the power of breathing, and knowing this thing. Our Western culture and Western society has just taken us so far removed from us understanding this thing. You talk about how, if for our Bible readers, how Jacob, actually made that connection with the Creator inside, and for in Genesis 32 and 30, for I've seen God face to face, and my life is preserved, and I called the name of the place Peniel, where he's seen God face to face. But I know we're born with so much chi, and so much, as a man talk Chia talk about Wu Chi and microscopic channels and connection orbit that he speaks on. The problem I think that some of us may have, well, all of us have, but because of some people are more disciplined and knowledgeable about acquiring that and obtaining that chi through air and breathing and things like that. But you can also achieve some of that chi. We're supposed to achieve some of the chi from food and eating. And being that our food is so depleted, I would ask the guests, is how do we deal with that with supplements, and then do you agree with that as far as food being a major source of us acquiring the necessary chi to help us?
Well, I would say this: the world is so toxic now. Toxic water. You got to think about the water that is being used to grow the food, and organics. Mm-hmm. They are really trying to get rid of all the organic farms, Monsanto. So, just in trying to eat more organic food from a perspective that it's healthier, and but I would say this, as far as my understanding is, they're not remineralizing the ground when they even the organics, because the government used to forget exactly what you call it, but pay them to remineralize the ground, and then you move the food. This is high in vitamin A, so you take that and put it over here, and it mineralizes the ground over here so that you have a balance of minerals and vitamins that are going to be absorbed into the food as they grow. So, I take supplements, and I am a certified wellness coach, and so I take supplements. I do ginseng and royal jelly. Let's just say, for some reason, if I'm not really feeling it today, it might be more of what I got to do or where I'm going. I will get up and take a vial of ginseng and royal jelly. In general, I don't get sick that often. And so there are supplements, and there are Chinese supplements in the Empty Vessel magazine is a Chinese or Asian QiGong magazine. They have supplements in there. But the thing about it is, your body is an elemental body, and different elements are related to different organs, and you have to sort of make sure that you're not taking the wrong supplement if you start dealing in that direction, because you could overtax an organ. Too much wood, too much metal, too much fire. Like acid reflux is a fire issue, stomach issue. Okay, so the elements help to balance out the system. So, herbs are good, different things like that. If I don't feel well, really, I go to a Chinese herbalist. And after I've gone to allopathic doctors and seen what they had to say, then I go there. That's how I deal with it.
Yes. You know, Brother Antonio, I know we have conversations with Brother Mark White over at Ridall, and he talks about the absence of minerals from the soil and the way they're farming now, and they don't really give the soil a chance to, to recover and to remineralize. And then, of course, we have this whole thing about the chemtrails and them dropping strontium, aluminum, and barium from the skies from those planes. There's a lot of things that are going on to affect the quality of our food, but I think you're actually and absolutely on point when it comes to the idea of us getting energy from our food, and that's one of the reasons that it's so important for us to consume whole foods. And the thing about conventional versus organic, I mean, we can go round and round and round as to whether or not it's worth it to deal with something that's organic versus something that is conventional. But when we talk about energy, the fact that they use those pesticides and those insecticides in the growth of those foods, and then they've genetically modified them too, they've altered the energetic state of those things. And when you consume them, you consume the energy that goes along with them. So, I mean, I don't eat 100% organic, but I do make an effort to get as much organic as I can.
Okay, I want to talk about Japanese forest bathing.
Mhm.
Japanese forest bathing. I want to talk about that, and I want to speak on that by us being distracted so much. Our bodies, as they said, it's like a machine. Our mind is like a computer. That, and Master House said, in order to activate the other 90%, that's the genius part of you. You have to quiet the mind. And you can't, over time practice, and I have techniques, if you ever had a cat, you see how the cat is like looking like that. And the
About
cat,
20 seconds.
okay, real still. And if you focus like that, or if you listening for a specific instrument, you don't hear nothing else but that. Those are steps to shutting the chatter in your mind.
Welcome back. Welcome back once again. 360 Info Network. Vince Robinson in the studio. Our brother Antonio is out in the field today. And our guest is Makia Sax. She is a holistic practitioner. She's someone who understands QiGong extremely well. During the break, she was alluding to some things that she wanted to share with us, and amongst them is the Japanese practice of forest bathing. So we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about some of the other things that you want to bring to the table.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Japanese.
Yes.
Okay, maybe in the 60s or the 70s in Japan, there was a holistic center, and people were coming there that had many different diseases. And for a while, a group of people didn't come. And when they came back and they checked their blood, the markers in their blood for what was wrong with them was down considerably for people who had like cancer and different things like that. And they asked them, there are documentaries on YouTube that you can look this up and see. And they said, well, what have you been doing? You've been going to another clinic? I said, no, I've been walking in the forest. So there's a lot of information out there right now about Japanese forest breathing. You can walk in the metro parks, I would say slowly, sort of walking, listening to the sounds. And if you could focus more on breathing, if you would do that, they're saying that just 15 minutes of that will boost your immune system for a couple of weeks.
Hold up. 15 minutes walking in the metro park.
That's what the documentary said. There's documentaries on YouTube. Okay, now, in my opinion, walking down the street with car fumes and exhaust rather, it's going to contaminate you. But if you can move your walking to the elements of a bunch of trees, because it's the trees are releasing oxygen anyway, but this has nothing to do with oxygen. This is the elements of the trees that they more or less have to protect themselves. And it releases these elements. And as you're walking, when I go, I'm walking for much longer than 15 minutes. And like in the spring and so forth on, I have groups, it's free. We just go walk through the park, that type of thing. But they also found out, they did this research. They took people and put them in a room and showed pictures of the forest on a screen. And they took their blood and was checking their blood. And they could see that the things that boost your immune system was happening from watching a movie. Then they took oils from the trees and just burned it, and the same thing happened. We weren't just dropped here and you on your own. Okay, nature is our greatest healer. All the elements to heal us, probably of most issues, are in nature, and that's probably why they're cutting down the rainforest.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and this is really a sidebar conversation, but there are plans to kind of centrally locate everyone. They want to create these things called 15-minute cities, and basically you can get from A to B within 15 minutes, and it may not require you to use gasoline-powered vehicle. So you can ride a bicycle, or you can ride an e-bike or something like that. But the whole idea is to have everybody centrally located in urban areas. And if you're in those urban areas, you're going to have an absence of those things that you would find in the forest. So what you have just given us, I hope folks are listening, because this is something that all you got to do is, if you got a bike, you can ride to the park. If it's too far, you can get in your car and you can drive to the metro park, and you can go for a 15-minute or a half-hour walk, or walk for an hour or whatever. And you're going to get an intrinsic benefit just because of your presence in that space. All the energy that is around you that's emanating from the trees are giving off oxygen. You're breathing off carbon dioxide. They take that carbon dioxide in, give it back to you in the form of oxygen. So you have this symbiotic relationship. The plants are they're depending on you to give them that carbon dioxide, and then in exchange, just here, let me bless you.
That's
Well,
right.
well, it's a little bit more to it than the little cliche is talking about. I actually physically do it sometime, and go hug a tree. When they say go hug a tree, go hug a tree.
There's
You know,
QiGong techniques for
it could
that
be.
too.
Yes. Well, when we were in Central America, Mexico, so to speak, and we went to visit Chichen Itza, the folks that I was with, we actually spent about 15 or 20 minutes connected to a tree. We had experienced all the benefit and the joy of this Qigong energy, and then we went to this sacred place, and we connected with that tree. And I can't tell you what it did for me, but I can tell you overall, I felt amazing as a result of that.
I do that over at Edgewater. I go down to Edgewater. Master Howe taught us classes on connecting to the trees, to do big heaven, small heaven, microcosmic orbit, or I'm getting a blank.
I can't think of it either.
Yeah,
but
I
I know
can't
what
think
you're
of it.
talking about.
Yeah.
What's that? I can hear.
Small heaven or big heaven with the tree. How to exchange energies. He even showed us, like his daughter was sick, and she was really sick, and he took her to a tree and had her lean against the tree, and he was sending the energy into him so that he could control it and into her, and she got better. Then he said he got sick because the energy from her came into him, but it didn't get him as bad as it got her. Okay, but there are all kinds of techniques. Just sitting on the roots of a tree, you're going to be absorbing the energy. But if you really want to do it, you need to have the techniques of how to bring the energy of the tree into your body and take it out. I went to Edgewater. I was feeling rather
Wonky that day.
yeah, off mentally,
Right.
more so than physically, but off physically. And I was running these techniques, and I was just like running them. At that point, I wasn't really expecting that much. Then all of a sudden, it was gone. What was ever on me that day was gone.
Yes.
Okay, so I do that on a regular basis.
Yes. Yeah. There
Well,
is a
That'll
benefit.
get your brother too.
Yeah. There is a benefit that comes from connecting with Earth. I remember a few years back, I had a toothache, and I called up my goddaughter and I asked her if she would join me at Edgewater Park. So I met her at the beach, and I just took my shoes off and put my feet in the sand. you know, and I did that for about an hour. You know, so after doing that, and then I went to Giant Eagle and I bought a watermelon and I had some turmeric and some black pepper and I, you know, did that little concoction and voila, didn't need a leave, didn't need Motrin, didn't need to go to the dentist. You know, it's there are natural ways to address pain in your body, and these are it. So, Makia, you have given us, if nothing else, this is something that everybody can do. All it's gonna cost you is what you got to put in your gas tank to get to the park. Go to the park, and if you can take your shoes off, if it's warm enough to take your shoes off, and you can connect directly with the earth, you can go hug that tree. You can shed those positive ions that are causing inflammation in your body. You can get relief from your pain, and you don't have to go to the doctor to do that. I'm not
Melanoma, Soma.
Yeah.
Melanoma, that's what he talked. He talked about the energy that's in the tree, the spirit of the tree and connecting. You know, that was a big focal point when he went back to the village and dealt with, you know, initiation and stuff to that nature. So, you know, it gives off oxygen and it helps us. So there's a sacred relationship between man and tree, and that's what we're missing.
Okay, Brother Antonio, we're winding things down. We got just a couple minutes left. Is there anything that you wanted to bring to the attention of the audience before we conclude?
Yeah, no, that's okay. Just, you know, hey, it's good information. We have to, you know, do our due diligence and understand that pretty much everything we've been taught in this culture, in this westernized culture, needs to be looked at with a critical eye. You know, you almost can say everything you've been taught, pretty much do the opposite. You might be in better position.
Yeah, well, there's so much truth to that, because when it comes to our government, you know, believe the exact opposite of what they tell you, and you can't go wrong. Right. Makia Sax, if folks are interested in reaching out to you, if they want to take advantage of your services, how can they reach you?
They can call me at 216-376-0632. I also have a page at Facebook called Exploring the Energetics of Wellness.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to thank you wholeheartedly, because, again, you've given us some very simple things that we can do. You know, you can connect on a lot of different levels when you go searching for that knowledge. And that search brought me to you. So thank you for what you shared with us today. I want to remind those who are interested in being in the Black Kuumba Directory, that's Black Local Artists of Cleveland Kuumba Directory. We're going to have a photo session at Larchmere Arts this evening at 4. So show up, wear your best, bring a piece of art, and get your photograph taken for the directory. We're very hopeful that we'll be able to get that directory out this year. So 12726 Larchmere Boulevard, and you can join us there. Also, coming up on Saturday, we've got a comedy workshop that's going to be staged by Brother Robert Coleman Jr. He is a seasoned comic. He knows his craft. You come to this workshop and you will definitely get an idea of what it's like to make a living as a comedian, and perhaps you can take that trajectory and become a success yourself. We'd like to thank our engineer, Tone. My man, thank you, brother. You make things work for us, and we appreciate that. And I'd like to thank you for listening, as always. Know yourself, love yourself, be yourself. Make today your absolute best day. Peace, Cleveland.
Peace.